are rounding out our hour talking about the pandemic and navigating it in the third school year, if you can believe that. You're welcome to join in and be a part of this conversation. 615-737-PLUS is the number to call in. I want to introduce you to our guests one more time, Beth Brown, also Josh Vaden, and Paula Pendergrass, all teachers and also with the Tennessee Education Association. Thank you all for being here and your perspectives tonight. I do want to talk a little bit more about this waiver process, which we seem as a state to just be wading into. It was announced not too long ago that that would be an option for schools to submit a waiver to the state, Beth, and say we would like to shut down or we would like to go virtual. What do you know about how this is working or not working?
So that's a great question, Carrie. First of all, I think there's been a lot of frustration from district leaders around the slow rollout of this and the lack of clarity around the process. And I know that when Commissioner Schwinn first announced that, okay, we're going to have this waiver process, we're going to trust locals that when they submit that there's a real need. And then within the first 24 hours, I know that there were districts who submitted waiver requests that were denied. What TEA is hearing from district leaders across the state is a lot of frustration around the lack of clear guidance around what actually needs to be in a waiver request for it to be approved. We know that not every waiver request is being approved, and that's very frustrating to district leaders. So I think what they're looking for and what everybody's looking for is very defined thresholds for what will qualify you for a waiver approval and what will not.
And these waiver approvals, are they just to say we would like to shut down completely, or say we would like to go remote or virtual or hybrid, something in between that we've all become a little bit more accustomed to?
So that's part of the lack of clarity. One of the things that is clear is the state governance, the governor, the General Assembly, and the Commissioner of Education have all made it very clear that they do not intend to allow districts to go completely, for a district to go remote district-wide. These waivers are for individual classrooms or individual schools to move to temporarily to remote instruction. Because, and again, we talked about this earlier with that disruption to student learning. When you've got half the class out, a third of the class out, half the class out, that's very, very disruptive. And so when you hit that level of quarantining, then having the ability to move that classroom to remote instruction provides for continuity of learning, which is really, really important for students, particularly our youngest students, because any disruption to their structure, it takes a long time to recover.
Oh, you're preaching to the choir. I have a first grader and a third grader, and we were out for a week in Wilson County, and getting my first grader back on schedule, oh mercy, it took a while. So in just 1 week I was shocked, and we even did the remote and the hybrid and everything else last year, so it threw us for a loop as a family. We have Richard on the line. Richard, thanks for being part of the show. Go ahead.
Okay. Hello.
Hi there, Richard. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you for taking the call.
Sure.
I want to know, when I went to the school to visit about a week ago, I went in the cafeteria. My children work there at school, and they don't separate those kids in their cafeteria. They got X's on the seats, but they don't separate them. And the school staff, the teachers, is pertinent. I know this lady representing these teachers, which is a bad idea for the union, like worst union I've seen in the world. They don't go and visit these schools. These unions don't. They don't go and subsidize nothing. But that's how the corporate keeps spreading, because the staff is not in unity. They have to support everybody else. Support staff, get this straight. When students leave the classroom, the teachers supposed to sanitize that room for the next class and make sure they have the proper tools and everything. I'll give you a call.
Okay, Richard, thank you.
So what I'm trying to say is, they're not working in unity. I got children and grandchildren going to these schools, and this teachers union, and they say they're so strong. Why come they keep voting for a Republican president, a Republican governor?
Okay, let me ask Beth. Thank you, Richard, for calling in. I think, Beth, what Richard's saying is it's clear everybody's not marching to the same beat right now.
So I appreciate Richard acknowledging what so many of us see is there's a real lack of ability to do social distancing in our schools. Let's remember schools were designed for social inclusion, not social distancing. And so that's one of the reasons that we need multi-layered approaches to our mitigation strategies. He also acknowledged the fact that we don't have enough staff who are able to come in and adequately clean our buildings. We know that every janitorial staff is working extremely hard, but quite frankly, our schools are understaffed. And so I think he's just highlighting some of the problems, the very real problems that exist. And one of the greatest challenges in battling COVID-19 in our schools is the lack of ability to socially distance ourselves, and also the time and the resources and the personnel, quite frankly, to properly sanitize our schools.
Before we have to go, I do want to talk to Josh and Paula and just ask you as teachers, what do you need to make your job easier, less stressful, less full of anxiety right now? Josh, you go first.
Yeah, I think thank you, by the way. I think it all goes back to, again, needing some sort of guidance. We started this year similar to what everyone else has echoed so far without the clear thought out plan that we had at the beginning of the previous year. We had, contingency upon contingency plan, and not being able to mitigate any risks that we're currently up against with a clear cut plan and support at the state level. Without that, we're still, I feel like we're taking steps back day after day.
Yeah.
So having that clear-cut guidance.
Paula, what about you? Anything to add?
Yes. First, I want to acknowledge the previous caller because, it's easy to hear the things that we are doing right. It's kind of, difficult to hear the things that we are doing wrong or things that we need to improve upon. And so when he highlighted some things that we need to improve upon, and I really do appreciate him coming on, this space and recognize that we have work to do. And what I would like to see, or that would make my job easier and my colleagues, is the support from, the parents, the community, our local, state, national leaders, because it's going to take more than just, our teachers and, and even our bus drivers. And, we went through a long list, of people who are part of this system that plays a key role. And so we want to have local, empowerment.
Yes.
So, making sure that our local elected officials, have the empowerment to make decisions that are in the best interest of teachers and students.
Well, Paula, I hear you loud and clear. Beth, Josh, Paula, thank you all so very much. And my one little voice here, I want to say, I believe you guys are rock stars for what you do, and it truly matters. So thank you, and thank you for joining us tonight. We'll be right back.